I'll start with a conversation. Thank you guys for joining. We have a very special guest today with us, Akhil Dua, or Akhil Paji as I call him. I'll give my side of intro and then I'll let him take over in a bit. But so in August, I had the opportunity to be part of the Boots and Crampons Kang Yatse II expedition, and where I met some, I think, incredible folks from all over India. उनमें से अखिल बाजी एक थे, and I think one of the out of many moments, the one of I think the great moments also was when I met him for the first time. I think I was already there for a couple of days, and when he arrived on that Goji Villa ki roof, just the entire mood and energy just changed, and he just his infectious energy just sort of pumped us all up. And उस दिन देख के इनसे मिलके ऐसा लगा कि हाँ अब I think अगले कई दिन काफी इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाले हैं. So I think that was how I met him, and I think what I know of him is he's an incredible human being and an amazing team player, a great motivator by himself, and वो energy was throughout the same till the time we reached the summit and back down as well. So, Akhil Paji, that's from my side. And I think if you can share a bit about yourself to the audience, that'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, those are some really complimentary words. I really appreciate coming from you. Um, I'm a hotelier by profession, and I am a mountaineer by passion. That's how I like to introduce myself. I balance both of those things equally. Um, I think about mountains and I think about nature and I think about trekking as much as I think about my family or my work. So I try to balance um, mountaineering and trekking. I give it that much um, importance in my life. And just to give you a brief history, I fell in love with mountains when I was probably, I think, 10 or 12 years old. My grandparents took me to Missouri, and the first time I saw a proper mountain was in Missouri. And I mean, I remember feeling that connection, that awe, that just, those moments where you just um, gaze something that, you've never seen. So that was the first time I got introduced to the mountains. And then I seriously started trekking after I came back from the US, I think somewhere around 2010.
Okay.
So it's been 12 years that I've been pursuing trekking as a very active hobby. And in these 12 years, I have been able to see some really amazing mountains and have met some really amazing people. And the proudest thing that I've been able to do is I have been able to put together a group of mountaineers that have become like a band of brothers now. You met most of them
Yes.
on this trek, and I think that has been my biggest achievement so far.
Great. So, sir, ये जो band of brothers है, this group of trekkers that you have put together,
Yeah.
what is it called? Was it the name? And uh, उसे start करते हैं नाम से, and then a bit of background about that.
Sure. So it really dates back to I did Stoke Kangri, I think, in 2013, and that's where I met Viru Paji, I met Sam, I met a few others on that trek.
Okay.
It wasn't until 2016 when I went and I did Goechella by myself. By myself in the sense that I didn't bring anybody that I knew. And that's where I met Abhishek, um, Abhi, Dada, and
Okay.
Karan. That's where I met these two fellows and Suhas Dada also on that trek.
Okay.
It was when I met these two gentlemen, Karan and Abhishek, that's something really clicked, and we decided on that trek that we would trek together. That was the
Okay.
whole that was the whole game. Um, and after Goechala, we quickly started planning for the next trek, which we chose. I think it was Pin Parvati Pass, I think in 2017. So
Okay.
2017 was the first time that I brought together different trekkers that I had met in my previous treks for the first time.
All right.
Um, it was, I mean, the camaraderie and the chemistry from the get-go was absolutely amazing. We used to call ourselves mountain men. We still
Mhm.
do. And Mountain Men has been trekking since 2016-17. We've done about five, six odd high altitude treks together. And then we in 2019 we took a decision to form a NGO by the name of TREKLA.
All
And
right.
what TREKLA does is more of um, more serious stuff like raising funds for mountaineers, raising funds for trekkers who don't who might not have enough funds to complete a project. So that's
Okay.
that. Mountain Men is our unofficial, you know, hyper pumped Mastiwala group, and Trekla is our NGO arm that for the past 2 3 years has been doing some fabulous work.
Okay. All right. So, what all in terms of Trekla, are there any recent examples you can share where you have helped out someone, or what kind of projects you have sort of successfully undertaken as a group?
Yeah, so you know, first of all, it's a huge pain to start and grow an NGO. It's
Yeah.
been 3 years, and the paperwork still has not finished. So it's a very long process, and you really have to believe in the cause to keep pursuing it. But what we have been able to do is in 2021 last year, when Arjun Vajpayee was going for his, I think he was Annapurna and I think Dholagiri. He was doing two peaks, and he was raising funds for his campaign. And I have met him. I have been friends with him for the past I think 10 years now. I met him when he had just recently climbed Mount Everest, and he was the youngest Indian to do so.
Okay.
And because I know him personally, I believe in his work. I believe in his craft. I believe in his vision. So we, as a group, Trekla raised, I think, about 75,000 rupees for his campaign. Then
Okay.
this year we helped out Abhishek for his project 3K, where he did
Okay.
Kun and Kang Yatse, and then the
Yeah.
then and now we are getting into a position where we have started to speak with multinational corporations where we want to actively pursue projects that um, that are geared towards preserving the mountains. So a lot of sustainable practices. That's the direction that Trekla is probably going to head. So it will
Okay.
be we'll still keep pursuing raising funds for mountaineers and climbers and trekkers who want to go on different missions and break records and follow their craziest dreams. We want to do that, but at the same time, Trekla, the members of Trekla realize how gifted we are to have Himalayas and as part of our country, and we um, because we are so passionate about trekking and mountains, we feel that it is our responsibility to bring companies under the spotlight and have them help preserve the natural beauty that we are gifted with.
Fantastic. I think that's great to know because a lot of us, we go and it's for a lot of people, it's like a one-time affair. They'll go to the mountains, they'll come back. But to stay connected to the essence and the you really make your passion deeper and to help other out and do things for the community. I think that's a very good initiative. So I think what we can also do is later on post the chat also we can just share a link if there is of TREKLA and the ongoing projects and everything so that people can know more about
Yeah,
you guys and then also follow.
I just want to add the trigger was, you remember when they shut down Stoke Kangri in 2020? You remember
Yes.
that? That was the trigger because Stoke has been one of my um, favorite treks to do because of how challenging it is and just the summit push. And when that shut down, it was like like you know how it happens, right? You don't realize the pain unless you're going through it.
Yeah.
You read an article and you're like, ah, हाँ, ठीक है, मतलब I can relate, I can understand that, but you really can't unless it actually happens to you. And
Yeah.
when school shut down, I was in shock that, okay, did we really cause so much damage downstream? Did we actually hurt so many women and children and people who got sick because of our activities? The top that the government had to take a decision to shut it down. So this was real. I mean, this was as real as it could get.
Yeah.
And then I had a chat with my team members, and we're like, we have to do something. We might not be able to do it today, but at least let's start putting the groundwork. Let's start putting the foundation, and that's really when we started pushing TREKLA into bigger projects.
Hmm. Great. That's great to know. Okay, so you guys attempted Stoke Kangri, I think, back in 2019, 2020, uh,
Yeah, 2020.
2020. Okay, and so that obviously, that's a different thing. But other than all the treks that you have done as a group, plus individually before, versus the KY2 that happened this year for you guys, what stands out with KY2? What sets it apart?
Man, KY2. All right. So first of all, KY2 is the was the highest high altitude peak that we were attempting to do.
Okay.
Only Abhishek had climbed higher, and that was just before he came to Kang Yatse, which was Mount
Cool.
Kun.
Yeah.
So as a group, as mountain men or as TREKLA, the highest we had done before was Stoke. So Kang Yatse anyway was going to be something special. And also what made Kang Yatse so special was as a group, this is the healthiest we've ever been, and we can get into the background of that. So, from a success rate point of view, we were looking at Kang Yatse as a peak that I wanted all 10 team members to climb. Um,
Hmm.
so, and then the group that we came across when we got to Ladakh was made Kang Yatse something very special. I have never experienced um, the high quality of trekkers that Boots and Crampons was able to recruit. Um,
Hmm.
just the quality of their trekking and the quality of their values really made Kang Yatse as something to remember. And then I had thought about two more things that really made this trek amazing was having Romil sir and Bharat around and
Hmm.
Nim Joji. I mean, my God, can you imagine going on a trek where the founders of the companies are trekking along? They are putting your crampons on. They are, you know, making sure that your belt buckle is fine, your bag is right, and then you have
Uh,
Nims Baby, who's how many times? How many? He's like climbed
11 times Everest. Yeah, 11 times.
So, I mean, I've met maybe like two people who've climbed Everest before, and now I was climbing with people who have done it so successfully. So, it was just the fact that as a group, this was the highest or the biggest challenge we were taking on, and then complementing that with the really high pedigree of trekkers that Boots and Crampons was able to bring along, and then the best part of Romil sir, Bharat, and just the benchmark that Boots and Crampons has set when it comes to service and hospitality and food. All of those things, elements combined, this was a really special trek.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. And coming to the training part of it, you said that you were looking at, you have been the healthiest, the group has been the healthiest for this one. So
Yeah.
when the thought came in, and then the concept was sort of approved by the group that हाँ ये करते हैं, अब ये target बना लिया है.
Yeah.
How was the training? Like, when did it start? How long before it start? And was it individual? Was it group? What worked for you guys? If you can take a bit through that.
All right, so I'll give the answer to the physical prep and the logistics prep, but I want to give you some background because I think it would help you and the viewers understand why the prep was done in
Yeah,
that way. So
yeah.
back in 2019, we got a little ambitious, we got a little cocky, and we were like, दो ट्रैक एक साथ मारते हैं, सो वी लाइक ओके स्टोक तो करेंगे ही करेंगे, उससे पहले हम 12 लाख का पास भी करेंगे. तो ठीक है, एक्साइटमेंट, एवरीबडी इज गेटिंग रेडी, एंड I think if there were maybe 12 trekkers who did that duo trek together. I think out of that, maybe three or four were consistent runners and consistent workout. They would do these things consistently, and the remaining would do it maybe like a few months before the trek would begin, and
Hmm.
do it half-heartedly. I'm talking about myself, and that was a slap on our face. You know, uh, just how everything went right in Kang Yatse II, everything went wrong in Baralacha Pass. I mean, and this is not a blame, this is not an
Hmm.
excuse for not being able to complete stroke, but
Hmm.
our trek operator was just a big scam. And we went through a lot of misery in Baralacha Pass, where it should have taken us 4 days to reach the end. It probably took us 7, so we got lost multiple
Wow.
times during that trek, and we didn't actually realize after we came back into civilization how lost we were.
Oh no.
Um, and then um, and then the fitness level was just not up to mark, where everybody could summit a stoke. um,
Hmm.
we did, however, have three team members, Abhishek, Lali, and Karan, complete. They did reach the summit, and it was purely because their fitness levels were much, much better than the remaining people.
Hmm.
Um, and so, when we came back, when we came back to base camp and then back to Ladakh, and then how life moved on. Um, me and Sam were really, really shook up by the fact that we were not able to do this. Sam
Hmm.
had injured his shoulder. He had torn his ligament while doing a river crossing. I
Oh.
had busted a few blood vessels. So when I came back, I was, and even for Sam, I'm speaking for both me and Sam because we have spoken on the phone about that incident so many times.
Right.
That I can share that we were completely distraught to the point where my personal life and my work was getting affected. I mean, that's how pissed off I was. Um,
Wow.
so moving forward, Sam actually took that anger and frustration, and he quickly converted into, okay, you know what, none of this anymore. I am going to lose weight. I'm going to start running. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, and I'm going to, do every summit from now.
Hmm.
Sam was pretty quick to do that. I wasn't. So next year we attempted Bali Pass, and in comparison to Kang Yatse II and Stoke, Bali is not that difficult, but it's a moderate to difficult trek. So we were able
Yeah.
to do that. By that time, I had regained some of the fitness. I was still overweight. And then Sam and Abhishek and Karan and these guys really got on my case. They're like, um, you really need to drop some weight and you need to start running. Abhishek in general was really hard on me that you need to lose that gut and you need to be able to run a half marathon if you
Hmm.
really want to pursue this seriously. So
Right.
when time came for Kang Yatse II, I knew in the back of my mind that fitness would not be an excuse,
Yeah.
and B, I only had limited time. So that transformation journey had to
Hmm.
really really quickly. So that's the background. Me and Sam were looking at Kang Yatse II as a redemption, a way to redeem ourselves, not just in our own eyes, but also in the eyes of our team members, because we respect each other so much. It uh, it it does affect when you disappoint them. It
Yeah.
affects me, it affects every individual. So
Right.
I have always considered trekking less of an individual sport and more of a team activity, just because I have been very lucky to have these brothers around me. So it does affect me when I am not able to do something and I can see them be disappointed.
Hmm.
So
Right.
that's the background.
Hmm.
Now coming to the fitness journey, and I'll give you specifics because I think it's
Yeah.
very important for people to understand where I was and the tools that I used to get where I am today. So
Right.
um, January 2nd of 2022.
Right.
I started this, I was 97 and a half or 98 kgs.
Okay.
And I started this program called 75 Days Hard. You can look it up online. And the program is pretty much what it says. For 75 days straight, non-stop,
Hmm.
there are certain difficult things, hard things that you need to do. And the reason I
Okay.
chose this program is because I really needed to kind of jump start the fitness journey. So the program had where you could not drink, you could not smoke, you had to get up early in the morning, you had to meditate, you had to drink, I think it was like 4 liters of water, and you had to work out twice. So one workout in the morning, one workout
All
in
right.
the evening, and then the last thing was to take a picture of yourself and post it on social media. So the accountability factor was built into this.
Okay.
And that program that I did from January 2nd all the way up till I think Holi was March 18th. So I think it ended around March 15th or 16th or 17th. I don't know. That is
Okay.
what kind of helped me do a complete detox. And so I would do yoga in the morning. I would do 5, 10, 15 minutes meditation in the morning. Then I
Right.
would do yoga. Then I would go to the terrace and play with my son Kabir. So I got up, early morning sunlight. And then
Hmm.
in the evening, I would do a cardio session. So I would either go for a walk or I would run. I think I started with, I think, half a kilometer or maybe a kilometer. It probably was only a half a kilometer.
Okay.
And when I finished that program, 75 days hard, I had, I think I had reached maybe, I think I was probably able to do like a 5K or like a 6K.
Okay.
Uh, but what I realized was that I could do it. So, I was able to take control of this, which,
Hmm.
that's the enemy. If you can take
Hmm.
control of your mind, you can do anything. And I
Right.
was getting injured, and I was not at a very fast pace, but I was drastically losing that weight. And I kept a journal. So
Hmm.
I think by the end of by mid-March or by Holi, I think I was down to I think like 93 or 94. So I had dropped about 5 kgs, and my goal um, till I stepped foot in Ladakh was to drop about 10 kgs.
Hmm.
And so just before Holi, I had met I had met half 50% of my goal. I went crazy on Holi. I'm like, yeah, up to ask the party karenge, So I got the party thing out of my way in one.
Hmm.
I did everything I wanted to do on Holi day, and then I got back to working out and eating clean, and no liquor and no cigarettes and none of the drugs
Okay.
that you tend to get into. And then Abhishek and Karan, they kind of motivated me to go from whatever it was 5K, 6K to really attempt and do a 21K. According
Hmm.
to Abhishek, he was like, if you this is a 6,000-meter peak, you need to be able to run 21K without getting injured if you really want to summit. And then that became the new goal. And the way I approached it is very different from how others approach it. I took the method of adding just 1 kilometer every week. So if
Okay.
I have 6 kilometer this week, I will not do 8 or 10 or 12 next week. I would only do a 7. And then the next
Hmm.
week I would do an 8. And then the next week I would do a 9. And then the next week I would do a 10. So it took me almost a month or so to go from 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers. And
Okay.
then, you know, the goal, Chetan, really was not to get injured. And it was a very slow process, but you know, up to 15 kilometers, I would do this, adding 1 kilometer each. Once I reached 15, I was confident that, okay, I really need to kind of lose the shackles and try and
Hmm.
attempt. So I went from 15 to 18, and then in the following week, I
Hmm.
attempted 20K. I failed once, um, and then the following week, oh no, I didn't fail. I chickened out. I don't know why I chickened out. I can't remember the reason, but I remember calling Abhishek and say I'm chickening out. I don't want to hear about it. I'll try and do it next week. So the following week, I attempted 21, and I was able to do that. Um, so yeah, the 75 days hard just to jumpstart the detox process, and then consistently
Hmm.
running after that, just adding very very small increments. People think that doing 21K is impossible. I think if you have 21 weeks, you can easily do it.
Fantastic. So I think that's a great message for people who get stuck at that step, that first step that they want to take in changing themselves, in getting started with their journey. I think that's a very, very important message that you have given, that you can always take it easy, slow. Don't worry about the injury. Do it the right way,
Yeah.
and you will get there. So no need to rush, no need to get into any competition with anyone. You are only your own competition. And I think that's it. So yeah. So why I asked about the training aspect, and also why KY2 different was because now you're seeing this rush of people going for 6,000-meter peaks.
Yeah.
And what I see is that people say that because we have done a trek, we have reached a certain altitude, let's say 5,500 meters. So what's after that? After that is a 6,000-meter peak. Now, what I want you to tell, because you have done that, you have done both. You have done a trek at that altitude and you have done a peak of this altitude. How is a 5,000-meter trek different from a 6,000-meter peak? Or also, how much trekking and climbing at the similar altitude is so different. Like for example, a trek to Everest base camp would be different than maybe climbing a 5,600-meter peak, which involves certain technicalities or different level. So
Yeah.
how are those two different?
Well, first of all, let's really see why there is a rush to these peaks, right? I mean, think about it. We didn't really have ways earlier to share, what we were doing. So
Yeah,
now with Instagram and YouTube and travel influencers and adventure influencers, um, there's this hyper sharing, right? I mean, you
hmm.
come back, you dump every photo that you took or video that you took on Instagram, and people watch it. And then when
Yeah,
people watch it, they aspire to do something similar or to do it better, which is a great
right.
thing. That's
Hmm.
how things should be. So that's one of the reasons why peaks that we used to think that are not attainable or not possible to scale, now we are actually attempting or dreaming of. And then the second
Yeah,
thing is that look at how professional trek operators have become.
yeah,
You know, if I were to do Kang Yatse with a local guide from Ladakh,
hmm.
it would seriously decrease the chances of me reaching the peak because
Hmm.
a local guide is a local guide. मतलब उसकी knowledge और उसकी ability और उसके resources are limited. You
Yeah,
know, if I do a trek with somebody like Boots and Crampons who has able guides, who has able founders, who knows what it's going to be like and what I'm going to need when I'm climbing, it
right,
increases the chances of me, reaching the summit. So I think
right,
that's the reason why there is this rush. One is that um, people are able to see their friends and people that they follow on social media do these things, and then
hmm.
there are resources like good trek operators who are able to support risk takers and trekkers like me.
Hmm.
Um, Now, if you think about somebody who has been trekking, for the past 3, 4 years and is in the range of, let's say, 12,000 to 15, 16,000 feet peaks,
Right,
they're still high altitude peaks, but something like, let's say, Goechala or Pangarchula, or, even for that reason, if you think about Pin Parvati Pass, these are all um, moderate to difficult high altitude peaks that fall in that range of 12 to 17 to 18.
right.
Now, when you move from that to something like a Kang Yatse or something like a Stoke, um, I mean, it's not a big jump in the altitude, but it is just a huge jump uh, in the difficulty level. And
Yeah,
anybody who wants to do that, I mean, you should definitely do it. But
hmm.
there are a few things that you should look at. How long do you have available to train for those 6,000 meter peaks? And
Right,
the example I gave of myself. I started in January and we went in August, right? So that's
right,
8 solid months of training. I mean, I did not take any weeks off. So I
hmm.
gave myself that much runway that I was able to do that. If I had started preparing 3 months before, there is
Yeah,
absolutely no chance that I could do. Absolutely no chance. So,
right,
I mean, that's the first thing that you need to figure out. Okay, I have been doing, let's say a trekker says, okay, I have been doing a 5,000 meter peak, and it is right now June. I want to attempt Kang Yatse in August.
hmm.
I would say, look, you probably are a very good trekker. You
Hmm.
probably have a very good chance of doing Kang Yatse too, but not with the runway, the amount of time that you have for getting ready. You need to
Right,
give yourself a longer runway to do that. And then
right,
the second thing that trekkers should think about when they move from the trekking world to the technical mountaineering world is just the quality of your operator, who you are going with. I
Hmm.
can't stress that enough. So one is internal, one is your the amount of effort you are putting in to go from a trekking peak to a mountaineering peak, and then the
Right.
second thing is just selecting the right operator.
Right. So I think thanks. So I think there's a very important point. So someone who's looking at, let's say, 2023 calendar and saying, okay, this is what I want to do. I think the time would start now. I mean, your training should start now. Should start
Yeah,
now. You should start building it. You should have a consistent fitness effort, whether you run, you join a gym, build your strength, and have sort of intermediary goals. I think if someone is doing wanting to do a Kang Yatse in August, I think they should be doing a 4,000 in, let's say, March, a 5,000 maybe in around May, and peaks and not treks, and so that you have the experience to also use the equipments, and then slowly build on to something like a 6,000 meter.
yeah, and don't forget, this is something really important only because I experienced it. I gave myself the entire month of December of 2021 to just talk to my mind. I'm not lying. I mean, people might hear this and they might think that I'm cuckoo, but I'm not. I had to give myself an entire month where I was speaking to my mind and training it slowly to get into that habit of doing difficult things. I knew about this challenge. I knew that I was going to do it, but
Hmm.
I gave myself those 30 days to just reframe how my mind was working. That look, from this date onwards, this is what you need to do. I'm going to listen to you for the next 30 days. But after that, you're going to start listening to me. So that's the kind of conversation I was having. I did not want to take even a single chance of not being able to submit Kang Yatse II. So I would do anything and everything that was possible. That started with having a conversation with myself, what I wanted to do, and having a conversation here that you will be listening to me, and
Hmm.
then designing a program and then executing it.
Perfect. So I think that's how people should do it. That's called full commitment, addressing all the dimensions of physical activity or climbing you can think of, from physical to mental. So I think that's a very good takeaway. Akhil sir, coming to the film, the KY2 film that we just released, and which you played a very important part in sort of adding a lot to the story. Uh, Towards the end, when we are showing the scenes from the summit, uh, you say that you talk about various members of the TREKLA team who have gone through, various things. Abhishek, let's say he was thinking about, Ayush back at the camp, others who have gone through different thoughts and feelings. You said you have gone through a big personal transformation. So, what was that for you?
Also, yeah, so let's start with Abhishek. Abhishek undertook Project 3K where he did Mount Kun before us. He met us, he came to Kang Yatse, and then he
Yes.
was going to do Ultra. Ayush, his son, was with us on the trek.
Yes.
Um, so Abhishek is one of my closest friends, and not just in the trekking world, but in my personal life as well. And his son, obviously, I'm very close to. So I didn't even see Abhishek that much on this trek. I was
Yeah.
spending time with Ayush. It was me and
Ayush.
Ayush,
Yeah.
and it was either me and Ayush or me and you. We would have these nice
Yeah.
walks. And once we hit base camp, Ayush got a little sick, and just before we were about to leave, uh, that entire drama unfolded where Ayush was very sick, and then Abhishek had to kind of decide, should he pursue the mission that he was on, or should he stay back and look after his son? And that is, I mean, that is one of the most difficult decisions you can take. And I remember not having any words for my best friend. I had no idea how to console him, how to convince him, because I had no idea what I would do. Um,
Hmm.
so I mean, that's how the summit push started. You want to be very clear-headed, you want to be very calm, and you want to be very right frame of mind. And here we are with just emotions flying up and down. You obviously want Ayub to come along because he has performed so well. He's trekking at the right pace. He's doing everything
Yeah.
that's correct. And then to see somebody who's doing really well not be able to move ahead because of of AMS was very, very heartbreaking. And I
Right.
knew that that was playing on Abhishek's mind, even though he wouldn't say it. But he's a human being, he's a father. So that was going on throughout growing up. That what is Abhishek going through?
Hmm.
Then up till the uh, the what do we call, not the crampon point, the point where we took the last push, where there was a rock and we all, what do you call that point?
The fixed rope point.
The fixed rope point.
Yeah.
Till the fixed rope point, I mean, so from the crampon point till the fixed rope point, a lot of us were struggling, and
Yeah.
some of us were struggling more than the others. Having Karan just crash because of sleep, I mean, that was so odd, because like I said, he's so consistent and so dependable when it comes to trekking. So I was like, man, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And then Jayesh is trying to keep it together and help Karan put it together. Um, and um, and so if I talk about the sequence, around 8:30, Abhishek reached the peak, and then it was I'm talking about mountain men, and then it was Sam, and then it was me and Virupaji, and then Jayesh and Karan. But
Yeah.
you have to understand the dynamics. When Karan and Jayesh were struggling um, at the fixed rope point, me and
Right.
Virupaji were just a little bit ahead, and I could hear them talk. I could hear the chatter that they were having between them, and it was not positive. And
Hmm.
at that point, I told Virupaji, I'm like, look,
Hmm.
अगर अपन और आगे बढ़ गए, we won't be able to come back down for them, and I think we really need to stop right now. And Virupaji said, हाँ, जाएंगे तो सब जाएंगे, नहीं तो भाड़ में गया. So we
Hmm.
stopped, and then we spent good 5-7 minutes just just sending positive vibes and just giving them a very, very positive and a motivational kind of pep talk to, what you need to, you can beat this if you can just get up and just start walking.
Right.
Then when we were walking and when we were struggling, Sam was just ahead of us, and
Hmm.
Sam was the one who was stopping every few minutes, turning back and making sure that we were coming. And
Right.
then Abhishek was stopping a few minutes, every few seconds, and making sure that Sam was coming. And
Yeah.
this this rope of when I say this band, why I call it the band of brothers, that's the band that I'm talking about. There's this invisible rope in between us that we want the other guy to succeed as much as I want to succeed. Me
Correct.
reaching the summit without Abhishek, Karan, Jayesh, Virupa, Sam, Suhasda, Ayush is nothing in my head. I want
Yeah.
to reach there. I definitely want to reach there, but it would mean so much more if my team members are there with me.
Right.
And that's why when you see in that film where I say, we ऐसे ही करना है, ऐसे ही एक दूसरे को push करना है. Because if we had not
Yes.
pushed each other, there is a very, very good chance that only a few of us have had made it there. I was having a very good trek. I had a flawless trek because my mind did not fight me in this trek.
Hmm.
Even on the summit push, I was able to dominate my body and my mind, but not everybody else was able to. And I have been in that situation in Stoke Kangri, where I was not more powerful than my mind, and I had to back down. So, if we had not pushed each other, there is a good chance that only maybe half of us had completed the summit.
And I think in between that rope was somewhere I was, part of the energy chain, and I
Yeah,
think that somehow got to me as well because it helped me also push.
yeah,
I was obviously quiet. I was in between Ankit and Sam,
yeah,
and Abhishek had already reached the summit with
yeah,
Tarun, and they were
yeah,
obviously shouting, and it was hard. It was, taking 20 steps, 15 steps, and then stopping. It was very hard.
yeah.
So somewhere in between all that calling and the energy from below and above, uh, it got to me as well. And I said, okay, this is what you got to do for. This is your team. This is
Yeah,
your team. Everyone's got to reach up, and I think that incredible. I was just lucky to be part of that incredible moment. I think that emotional moment at the top, where I think everyone was part of. I was just lucky to be there. I think I just consider myself fortunate.
I remember, I remember screaming at Virupaji because we had devised this system of 10 steps and then 10-second rest. And we were doing really good from the fixed rope point almost till I think maybe like 100 meters, maybe 50 meters short of the summit.
Yeah.
And once I heard Abhishek's voice from the summit, you know, and he was saying something like, "Aja mere sher, aja mere cheete," something, to get me going. And I was like, okay, screw this 10-second, 10-step system. I want to, I've heard my brother's voice. I want to reach there right now. मेरे इच्छा हो रही थी मतलब मैं सब को तार तोड़ फोड़ के मतलब ये बैग वैग फेंक के मैं एकदम पहुंच जाऊं. That's the kind of energy you get when you hear your brother's voice. Um, so yeah, that moment when we reached the top, Karan, I think every one of us was teary-eyed at one point or the other. We were all. That is probably the only time when grown-up men can cry and hug each other, and it would be okay, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So coming about 2023, what are you guys up to? What's coming next?
Yeah. So we follow a very fixed process when it comes to finding treks and more importantly finding operators.
Hmm.
The chat begins, the brainstorming begins when we are on a trek. So we started talking about 2023 already when we were doing Kang Yatse.
Hmm.
A few options have come up, but we are quite certain that it's not going to be a peak in India, and we are looking at peaks in Nepal. Um,
Okay.
and because we try to challenge ourselves and better ourselves more than the previous time, I'm quite sure that the peak would be somewhere in the 6,000-meter range,
Hmm.
probably the same height as Kangyatse or maybe a little bit more, but a little bit more challenging so that we can up our game as well.
All right.
And then, so that's, I think, in a month, usually around November, December, we know what we're going to do next year. And then, Chetan,
Yeah.
from November till February,
Right.
we actually take 3 months to research, talk, interview, and finalize a trek operator. We
Okay.
have a very good process down where we actually have a template of questions that we ask that we send to a group operator,
Hmm.
and we get quotations. We do a lot of back and forth of questioning, and we end usually with like a face-to-face interview over a Zoom call, just like this, where we
Okay.
finalize the operator. We actually interviewed Romil sir earlier this year when we were finalizing things. So the reason I'm saying this is because I truly believe the your trek experience is so dependent on who you go with.
Hmm.
It can either make or break your summit. And I'm not saying summit is the end,
Hmm.
but just the whole experience, just every single day can be a pleasure or it could be a pain depending on who you go with.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. ठीक है. what we'll do is we'll end with a rapid fire.
Okay.
Uh, if you're up for it, and
Yeah, yeah.
okay, and if there's anything, uh, yeah, okay. One of the questions on the rapid fire people is going to be a question about the character. The character, I'll tell you, I'll give a brief background because that itself needs a separate Insta live conversation. Akhil Paji is a very talented, I would say, creator, content creator. He has his channel. So if you follow him, Dua Akhil, you'll see some amazing reels where he creates characters, he enacts them, and he creates something out of nothing. And it's all outdoor and trek related, and it will just crack you up. So I think you guys should first, I think, just go through that, and then maybe we can just think of something in the coming time and just do a live about one of those things. So
Yeah.
okay, so here goes a rapid fire. Your favorite outing so far?
Trek-wise,
Yeah, trek, climb, whatever.
it has to be Kang Yatse II.
I guess it. Okay. Hotel or campsite?
Campsite.
Okay. One gear you can't do without.
One gear.
Yeah, one piece of gear you can't do without in the outdoors.
Oh, you know those the new quick dry underwears that we wear now.
Yes, those are needed. Yeah,
I'll skip the trek pants, but I'll need those nice uh, quick dry underwear. That's something I won't do without.
cool. Okay, one piece of gear you think is overrated.
A buff,
Buff, right. Uh, what's your favorite post-climb drink?
old monk.
Old monk, lovely. This question was inspired by our recent conversation on the WhatsApp group. Uh, toilet paper or stone?
I would say icicles.
आइसिकल्स का वो उन्होंने दिया था हाँ अपने कहते हैं
Stones is much.
Viru Paji said something about
Yeah,
icicles.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, your favorite character from the reels that you've created?
It has to be hands down Chaddaji.
Chadda.
Yeah, I did not expect that he would be so popular.
Fantastic. And where is Chadaji going next? Very
Chaddaji
soon.
is preparing for EBC. You're going to
Okay.
see him next month a lot more. Yeah, he's getting ready. Be careful, Nepal. Chaddaji is coming to.
हाँ Chadaji is coming to Nepal. Fantastic. ठीक है Akal Paji, great conversation. Anything else you want to add to the viewers, to people who have joined us? This is the part two of our
Yeah.
chat.
Um, just a a reminder every time that we step into the mountains that we should be really grateful what we have. I remind myself every time I go into the mountains that this if we don't start behaving properly and follow sustainable trekking practices, this could end very soon. And just keeping that in mind and just feeling gratitude and feeling happy and joyous that we are we have Himalayas right here. I mean, can you imagine for less than 10,000 rupees and within a few hours you can reach the Himalayas? It's
Yeah,
people don't realize how good we have, and if we want to continue having that gift, we it's our responsibility to preserve it, not just for ourselves but for kids like Ayush and for the following generation. So every time you step into the mountains, take care of them.
fantastic. That's a great message to, I think, to close the conversation with. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Paji.
Bye, Rahil.
Jai
Take
Hind.
care.
Jai Hind.